everybody. Boy, this class filled up fast, which gave us some good information about the kinds of things you want to learn. Obviously, we're all online much more now, and in a different way since we've retired. I semi-retired, but this contact through technology is so important, and we've realized that as the months have gone on. So we hope to continue Tech Club for, I think, the next year, if we can, every month. So thank you for coming. Also, if you have some ideas for future classes, this one is very specific to Google, but if you have issues that maybe you always come up against them and you would just like to, even if it's just one problem, chances are good that we can fit your issue into a class of some kind. So please feel free to email me, and I will put my email address in the chat. And just let me know your thoughts, and let me know what, just what bugs you to pieces about your computer. And we'll try to get to that. But for now, we're going to talk all things Google, and we have our two tech wizards from Lawrence Public Library. I don't know what we'd do without them, frankly. These classes would be very hard if you put me in charge of them, or Kathleen, I dare say. But anyway, they're here graciously giving their time to us, and we'll talk about Google. And to start off, we're going to have Joel Bonner, who is going to tell us all about Gmail, our Gmail account, how to set it up and how to work with it. Joel, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hey, everyone. Appreciate you joining us today. What I'm going to do is go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to show you the bare bones, very beginning basics of how to get started with a Google account. You might hear folks, when they talk about Gmail or any of the services that are associated with Gmail, they might call it their Gmail account, their Google account, or if they use a specific service that the Google account offers. You might hear people refer to it a few different ways, but the Google account itself is what you register and create to get access to all of these services that Jim and myself are going to talk about in this class. So the beginning of that process, of course, you have to create the Google account, which you can do just by going to Google's website, google.com. And in the upper right-hand corner of the Google homepage here, you will see a big blue button that says sign in, a badge of 9 icons, which will contain all of the Google services that Jim and I will go over, and a few other things here. But what we want to do is just hit this big blue sign in button. And what that does is it brings up a sign in account. So anyone, if any of you do already have a Google account, this may look familiar, and this is where you would, once your account is created, type in your email address, type in your password, and then sign in. But of course, we are demonstrating how to create the account. So instead of signing in, I'm going to go down here just below where it says create account. And then in all of your situations, I assume you will be wanting to create an account for yourself. There is a whole other slew of things to consider for doing a Google business account that is far beyond the breadth of what I have any understanding of, and what I think will apply to anyone here right now. So what we do is we just click for myself, and you will get to this relatively simple account information screen, which just asks some basic information for you to create your account. You can put your first and last name. They don't necessarily have to be your real name if you're concerned about privacy in any way, or if this is just kind of a casual account, or whatever you want to apply for the first and last name. Google is pretty liberal about what can go in those spaces. And then directly underneath, it will auto-generate a suggestion for a email address that you can use as your username for your Google account. You can, of course, highlight and delete that and put whatever you want. It will tell you if the Google username that you want to use is already in use. You will not be able to replicate a pre-existing username. So sometimes that means you have to distinguish it with maybe a few numbers in order to distinguish it from a pre-existing username. But odds are, if you use any amalgam of initials of your name, first and last name, it probably will be pretty easy to get a unique one with just a couple numbers after it. And then, of course, here's the suggestion that Google is providing me here. And then we can go down one step further to create our password. Something to note that Google requires you to have at least 8 characters in your password, and they must be a mix of capital and lowercase letters, numbers, and a symbol. So what that looks like would be something, let me show my password. It's not considered proper password or internet privacy etiquette to show your password when you are in public in any way, but I'm going to do this right now for this example account. So creating a password for your Google account would look something like this. This is my password, 11 exclamation point, something like that. You might hear sometimes, depending on who you talk to or what service you're signing up for, some are more strict about using actual words in your password, which, unfortunately makes them kind of hard to remember. And then that goes against one of the password etiquette 101s of you shouldn't write down and keep your passwords in an accessible place lest someone finds your password book. Google, thankfully, doesn't really have any restrictions for using actual dictionary recognized words in your password. So you can do practically whatever, as long as it fits the at least 8 characters and has a mixture of letters, numbers, and symbols in it. So once we get that and we confirm it and we make sure our spelling is correct, you always want to triple check that, make sure that is good to go. We can hit this next button right here to go to the next step of the sign up process, where you can give it gives you the option of attaching your phone number to your account. Why do they do this? It is because if for whatever reason you lose your password, you forget it, you forget your email address, username, you can use your phone number as a way to recover your account information. I would highly suggest this is a cell phone number. That way you can access you can recover your account information no matter where you are. It can be a landline. They will send an automated voice message to your landline if you have one, and it will list off a recovery set of steps over the phone to you. But I'm also just thinking in the context of the library, we have plenty of people who come in and then they, just unfortunately forget their Google password. And then unfortunately, the phone number they have associated with their account is a landline. So they would have to then go home, get the recovery steps from their landline's voicemail, and then come back. And that is quite the hassle for anyone who has any amount of time sensitivity related to the tasks they're trying to do. So that is recommended, but optional. Additionally, down here, they encourage you to have a recovery email. So if this perhaps is not your first email address you've ever had and you have another email, it's good to associate a backup email with your Google account. That way, again, if you, for some reason, get locked out of your account, you forget your password, you forget your username, you can tell Google to send a recovery code, a series of steps to your other email address, and that way you can verify your identity with it. Again, optional, very recommended. I would recommend you do both of these, have a backup phone number and recovery email. But if you're confident that you are not going to forget those passwords, then by all means, protect your privacy. Next, you just enter your date of birth through month, day, and year here, and then your gender identification, and which is optional. And then we would hit next if I filled all of that out, and then it would show me a little screen that says I accept the terms and conditions of using this Google account, and then you're off and running. And what Google will look like once you create your account, I'm going to go into my staff Gmail here. It will look like this. And so what I can do now is go over kind of just a real cursory look at what the basic functions of a Gmail account are. Some of the things that make it cool, some of the things that make it stand out from other email services. I can just kind of go over the general overview, the layout here. And one thing I should note, a lot of what I'm about to talk about is available in a digital class, a digital course that the library gives you access to with your library card. And I can have Jim post that in the chat here so everyone has access to that. And then also, if you, for some reason, need access to it later, please reach out to any one of us, and we can give you the link to this course. All you need is your library card to sign in, and you can watch it. And it gives an even more in-depth version of what I'm about to talk about. And it's very handy. I found it very helpful. So here we have Gmail. And mine's really busy and complex because this is my work email. But when you first open yours, you won't have any messages here. You'll have a greeting message from Google right across the top that says, welcome to Gmail, blah, blah, blah. And the core things to really know about Gmail are all the way over here on the left. Particularly this first kind of upper third on the left of your screen. This is where your inbox and sub inboxes and folders are all going to be organized. So this is how you will navigate through all of the emails that you receive and send to others. It generally, unless you change it in some deep setting, it will default to just opening to your inbox every single time. So you don't have to worry about navigating to the inbox. Every time you open Gmail, it just plops you right back here in your inbox. And so, of course, it's an email service. So how do you send an email? Perhaps not completely obviously, right here in the upper left, right under where it says Gmail, there's a little icon that kind of looks like a pencil, a very minimalist pencil. And if you hover over it, it says compose an email. And if you're doing this on a tablet or a mobile device, it won't be in this exact location if you're using Google's mobile Gmail app, but the icon to start an email looks the same. You're always just going to look for this little pencil icon, and that's how you start an email. So if we click on that, it pops up over here with a new message with a fairly recognizable email layout of who you want to send an email to and the subject that you want the email to have. And then down here is where you would type your body text for your email buddy, best myself. And this is fairly typical of any kind of email service. It will kind of look like this. And that's basic, in the core, just like I want to get into Gmail and I want to send an email. That's really all you need to do. You just hit this compose icon right up here. It pops up your new message. I can send it to Jim, who's sitting just across from me here. And I can say, I had an awesome day, just want to tell you about it. And boom, that's all I would do. And this big blue icon right down here, I click send, and then that shows up in Jim's inbox. Like I said, also, once I sent that, I'll just send it to him right now. He'll have yet another email in his inbox. And what I can do is right over here in the left where all of my organization, kind of email organization sections are, there is a sent folder where I can see all of the emails that I have sent. And sure enough, there's Jim's right there that I just sent him. And you can review anything that you sent. You can confirm that it did indeed get sent by going right here. So that's very helpful. I get lots of patrons who come in and they're sending emails that are perhaps very important or confidential. And then they want to make sure that that email definitely did get sent. And I always tell them that, if you just hop into that sent folder right there, as long as it's there, that generally means that the connection was made between the accounts and it was successfully sent. So that's kind of a good way to confirm that you sent your message. And moving down a little ways, you have other categories here, a basic spam folder that will catch any suspicious or potentially malicious emails that may come in through your inbox. Sometimes it accidentally triggers on things that you do want that aren't spam. So it's good to occasionally check that folder just to make sure that nothing important is accidentally getting caught in the spam filter. And then of course, the all important trash is here when you delete messages. And then other subcategories that Google provides for you. And I can go into a little more detail on labels a little bit later, but I just want to give you a basic overview of some of this. And that LinkedIn course that we posted for you, they go into very wonderful amounts of detail of each of these categories, probably a little bit better than I could. So if you have some time and interest, that would be a great way to really learn in depth about some of these labels over here. And moving on a little bit further down, this is a chat function. So why, if I have a Gmail account, isn't the whole point of sending emails to communicate with people and to quickly correspond with folks? Absolutely. And the chat function is actually even more instant and informal than sending an email. It's very handy for someone like Jim or myself or someone working at the library who, no matter where we are in the building, we have our email up on the computer and we have access to Google Chat. So if we, say I'm working the technology desk and we run out of paper for the printer, I can quickly click on Jim's name in my Google Chat and say, hey, Jim, we ran out of paper. Could you run some up whenever you get a chance? And then he'll say, okay. And then that's it. It's a very informal way of corresponding with people instantly. It doesn't have the same functionality as email. It's really limited to text and pictures. It doesn't do any kind of complex information sharing that you would find in email, but it's a way to just very quickly contact someone whose Google account you have within your Google system, your Google contacts. That being said, only Google account users can use Google Chat. You cannot Google Chat with anyone who is outside of the Google service. Whereas with email, you can email anyone with any kind of email out there in the world. So that's a distinction to have. A little further down, we have rooms, which is kind of a way to organize topics of discussion. Again, this is kind of more for the workplace. It's more beneficial for the workplace, but if you have groups of friends who all have Google accounts and you like a certain topic, or you all meet, for a game night or something, you could have a little game night room where you just send messages to each other that's purely related to your game night or something like that. It's the sky's the limit. You just add a little group here, add a room, and you would just name it the game night room, and then it'll ask you who out of your contacts list you want to include, and it will give a list of everyone, and then you just click on the names and it invites them to the room, and then you have a nice dedicated space for you to talk about something of a specific topic, or however you want to get creative and utilize just a place to have a dedicated conversation. It is what you make it, and you could just not use it at all, but it comes free with your Google account. Moving on, there also is a meeting feature inside of Google that is very similar to Zoom. It's kind of Zoom, Google's version of Zoom called Google Meet. So if for whatever reason your friends that you want to communicate with, they don't have Zoom, but they already have Google or a Gmail account, and you have a Gmail account, just hit a new meeting, and much like Zoom, it just opens up a little window that says, who do you want to have a virtual conference with? And you invite people who are in your Gmail contacts, and then it creates a video conference room just like we're in right now. It looks very similar. It just functions ever so slightly differently. And moving on, what else do we have? Also, if I think, as Kathy said at the top, if you have any questions, please put them in chat. If we don't answer them a little bit later, we'd be happy to get correspondence with you after the course is over. We can email you and try to answer any questions that are outstanding. Moving on, we do have at the very top of Gmail here, we have a search bar, very similar to a search bar that you might see in Google or another internet browser, like if you're looking up websites or something. But this search bar is related entirely to contents within your email account. So if you're trying to access an old email that has some important information in it, maybe about your banking or about some get together with some friends, and you just can't find it in your email list, if you know who you were talking to about that subject, if you know the subject of the email, if you know any kind of important keywords about that, if you type them in this box up here. So I've been recently working on a podcast for the library. If I just type in podcast, it brings up down here all of the messages in my entire email history that have the word podcast in them. So I can kind of quickly find the emails that I was thinking about and needing to work on. So that's pretty handy. And there's lots of refinements that you can do. You can change the date range of how old that email is, so it doesn't bring up everything that completely exists in your Gmail inbox. It brings up, it'll only bring up something within a specific date range. Emails that have attachments, you can really refine your search criteria here if you so choose. So that's very handy, and I do that all the time because I've been working at the library for 5.5 years now, and every now and then I think of an email that came through 3 years ago that is relevant to something I'm working on right now. So I have to, rather than go diving through pages upon pages of history of my email, I can just search for it right then and there. So very handy indeed. Moving all the way on the right of the screen here, we have this tiny little bar that has these little icons here that basically are quick ways to access some of the other services that your Google account offers. Jim is going to get into these a little more in depth, so I won't go into too much detail here. But on the side, the default is a Google Calendar. You have a calendar function inside of Google that is super handy, that everyone here at LPL lives and dies by. It's what keeps us all glued together with our schedules. And you can create events and share them with other Google users so that you're all on the same page and you see the same events on your calendar. So if you're trying to coordinate things with people, it's a wonderful resource. Can't recommend that enough if you are someone who likes to use calendar organization to keep your life together. I know I definitely am that kind of person. Google has a note-taking app called Keep that you can put notes in and you can organize them. This is just a little sidebar that gives you quick access to notes, calendar things that you might just need to look at really quickly while you're sending an email, and then you can just close out of it and then you're back to your regular email view. What else do we have? Right next to it here, as I said, I've been working at the library for over 5 years now, and I've got about 2,300 emails still in my inbox. And that's even after me cleaning it out every couple of days. It accumulates fast. And so what you can do, Google will only show you 50 messages at a time by default. So if I scroll down through all of my emails here, there's only 50 of them in view. But if I know that I have an email that's from a little bit further in the past than, what is this, April 30th, April 23rd down here, I can hit this older arrow right here, just to the side. If I hit that, I'll go one page further in the past. So now I'm looking further into the April dates. And then, you can just keep going and going to however far you want to go. If you want to spend a whole afternoon going down memory lane of your email, once you've had your Gmail account for a while, you certainly can do that. And moving on, up here is your all important settings icon. And this will be how you, oh yeah, and that's what it looks like when an email comes through. Jim responded to my email. The settings icon will give you all kinds of in-depth options of how to change and organize your Gmail. Again, the LinkedIn course does a wonderful job of talking about a lot of these, because some of them you can kind of get in the weeds with if you don't know the exact functionality of them. But Gmail is very comprehensive. It has quite a bit of functionality inside of it that even escapes what I understand about email networking, like POP and IMAP settings. Like, I couldn't tell you exactly what those mean, but I know they're critical to how email networks connect with each other. So yeah, your settings gear up here, it's kind of just the universal settings icon, just this little cog. Click on that. You can see all your settings. You can change how your email looks. I have mine by the default setting, which is kind of a step between having a very small way of organizing your emails that are really compact. So if you get a lot of emails and you need to jump from email to email quickly, that might be appealing to you. I personally prefer the default setting because it allows you to see emails that have attachments with them, what kind of attachments those are. It lets you access the attachments really quickly. And just in my position here at the library, that's invaluable. It saves me time of digging and sifting. So I like to have it on the default view. But if you like to, if you want to get a lot in the screen at once, there's an option for you. And then, of course, everyone likes to customize their email apps and their email services and all their digital services. There's all kinds of different themes you can pick from, similar to your backgrounds in Zoom and stuff. You know, you can personalize your content a little bit. I personally really like the wood background. I've got just kind of this simple wooden background. It's easy on the eyes. It helps make the emails pop a little bit. Yeah, you can go crazy with that. I think you can even upload your own. Yeah, when you hit, let me go back here. So in the settings, right next to theme, if we go to view all, we can look at all of our background options. You can add your own photos from my photos. So you can look at your own photo in the background. A few more things here, just in my general overview. When we are composing an email, here's a couple of cool things to know. When you're composing your email, a lot of times you might want to send an attachment to someone. So say you're working on a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet, or you're wanting to send photos to someone. That's a really critical thing that lots of people like to use their email for. This bar all the way at the bottom next to your send button, that is going to be very important for attaching anything to your email. And this little paperclip right here, that's what you're always looking for. That's the perfect little metaphor for, like, if you're sending someone a document, you want to paperclip it to something else, and then you put it in their inbox at work. That's kind of the metaphor they're going with. You want to paperclip something to your email. And all you do is you just click a little paperclip there, and then you have all the files on your computer that you can pick from, just like that. Click it, and then it attaches it to your email. Additionally, you can do the same with photos. Right down here, you can insert a photo into your email. You can insert emojis. Google's getting into the emoji world, so if you want to have fun and personalize your emails a little bit, you can do that. Yeah, there's a handful of very handy functions at the bottom of your email here. Another one, if you're doing something that is confidential, like if you're sending important information like banking info or personal info, if you click the confidential mode, which is this little lock with a clock next to it here, if you click that, you can tell the email that you're about to send someone to delete itself within a certain time frame.
I didn't know that.
And you also, when someone receives that email, they cannot forward it, copy it, print it, or download any of its contents. So that is very handy if you are sending something that, you know, could potentially, you know, be compromising to some sector of your personal life. You know, you can activate the confidential mode. You can tell it what time frame you want it to expire in, from 1 day to 5 years. And you can also require the recipient to enter a passcode at the bottom here if you want to get extra secure with it. So yeah, and I actually, you know, I didn't really know much about that until I started researching for this course. I knew you could do it, but I'd never utilized it, but I didn't realize it was just this easy. It's one mouse click, change your settings and save. And then as soon as you send that email, it will expire in a week or however long you want it to go. So that's kind of a basic overview of Gmail. Like I said, it can go much deeper, and it does go much deeper depending on how engaged you want to be with your email service and how often you use it and for what you use it. That LinkedIn course that Jim posted, I would highly recommend. If you have some more in-depth questions about Gmail, I would highly recommend watching it. It's very well organized into different sections and different topics, and it's pretty easy to find what you're looking for inside of that course. And like I said, also, we'll be happy to email you and follow up any questions that you leave in the chat. And I think for the most part, that is what I've got. I can.
Joel, I'm sorry to, and I know we need to move this along. I will warn people, we may go a little bit over today because there is a lot of information to cover. Try not to. But we are having some questions, including mine about size, both text size and then the
Sure,
menu size.
sure.
I think just wanting a little larger text is pretty common, at least I prefer it that way. So can you show us how to do that real quick, please?
Yeah. If we are looking for, I'm trying to see here. Let me refresh myself on where to find that setting.
It's
I
just
know
right
that within
there.
the email itself, you can make the text larger
Oh,
and smaller.
actually, in the actual.
Well, both.
Okay, okay. Did you mean
The text
like?
size in an email and then the size of the menu itself.
Okay, okay.
Those two
So
things.
I guess while I have the email open, I can. So if you open your new message or compose a message, down at the bottom here, you have an icon that shows a couple different size letters here. And if you click on that, you can adjust your text size from small to huge. And then you can, oh, there we go. You can type an example of text, and then the differences between them look, oh, my caps lock is on, like this. So you can kind of judge for yourself exactly how large you want these to be. Pretty drastically different there. And then in the menu, if we go to our little cog here and then see all settings, I think somewhere under our general settings here, you can change the default of your email text right here. So rather than every time you open a message and changing the format of the text, right here under default text style, which is just in the general settings after you open them, you can change the kind of font that you use, the size of your text, and then even what color it is if you want to get really fun. Yeah, does that answer
Yes,
your
thank you.
question? Perfect.
Yeah. And I do see other questions, but let's go over and switch to Jim so that we can start talking about Google Suite. Thank you so much, Joel. We will get to these questions one way or the other.
Perfect. Thank you all.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Joel. Yeah, Joel is sitting beside me in the same room, so we're just here working together, and yeah, Google is it's a really massive topic. So yeah, it's hard to know like where to draw the line on all this stuff because you can get kind of into the weeds. But I was trying to answer a few questions in the chat here. Generally, Gmail it doesn't delete emails, so it should keep them generally forever. So you can set an expiration date on them, as I was kind of researching that real quick, but generally it'll stay in there for forever. The menu, I'm not quite sure on that one. That could have to do with your internet browser settings. That could have to do with your computer settings, or it could have to do with your Gmail settings. So we might have to get back with that question. Is there a way to delete chunks of email, and when we delete all, will we lose any we have in folders? How to delete an entire folder? That one's kind of tough too. So yeah, there's several questions there. Deleting. Yeah, that might be one we have to come back to as well, because yeah, the managing all of the emails with the folders and with the deleting, that can it can be kind of tricky. A lot of people, like what I do personally is since this is kind of what I'm about to get started into, is with your Google account, you automatically get 15 gigabytes of free storage. And so that allows you to do a lot of different things. The first of which is it allows you to have a ton of emails in your account and not have to worry about the storage. So a lot of times people don't even delete emails, they just keep all of them. And that way, if you ever need to search for an old email, you just search through your email and it's there. Now, when you start running out of space is when you start having large attachments, like large photos or videos or things like that. That'll kind of start eating up the space in your Google account and making you run out of space. There's a few different reasons you can run out of space, but if you're just typing emails, it's actually pretty hard to fill up that 15 gigabytes of space. So let's go ahead and get into, I have a little slideshow for you all. I'm going to share my screen here. And I'm using Google Slides to do this slideshow, and we'll talk more about that. I'm going to post the link to this slideshow in the chat. And this is a very important link. So I think it should be public, so everyone should be able to view it. And this slideshow will have links to all of the lynda.com or LinkedIn Learning courses for each of these. It's called your Google Suite. I'm not doing a great job of knowing where to start because it's so big. So let me back up for a second. I'll share my screen. That'll be more organized. Okay, does everyone see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and present here. Then you'll be seeing this slideshow. So with your Google account that you sign up for when you get a Gmail account, so Gmail is just one part of your Google account. Gmail stands for Google Mail. And so with the inside of Gmail, there's a little, what they call it is a waffle. There's 9 dots in the top right-hand corner of the screen, and that's your Google Suite. And so if you click that waffle, it'll have a drop down with a lot of little icons under there. And part of what our goal was today was, to talk about all of the icons, but there actually are so many that we can only cover some of them, but we'll cover the most important ones. And they're listed here. You have a calendar, which you've already talked about a little bit. Documents, it's called Google Docs. You'll see that there on the top left of my image here. Spreadsheets, which are called Google Sheets. Cloud storage, which is called Google Drive, and a lot more. And so the course that I posted in the chat earlier is from LinkedIn Learning. It used to be called lynda.com, and then LinkedIn purchased it. It's a collection of online training videos that are available for free with your library card. And it's amazing. It's one of my favorite things that we offer here at the library, and not enough people know about it. So I'm constantly kind of evangelizing about LinkedIn Learning. That's the new name for it. It used to be called lynda.com. Now it's called LinkedIn Learning. You go to the Lawrence Public Library website, lplks.org, and then you click on Resources in the top menu, and you select Online Learning. And when you do that, there's going to be a list of, actually, I can probably just show you that. Let me go back one page. I'm going to click on the website. Can you still see my screen? Are you seeing the Lawrence Public Library site?
We can see it. We can
Okay.
see it.
Yeah.
So I'll just go to Resources, Online Learning. And if I scroll down this list, it says LinkedIn Learning here. And I can click on that, and then it takes me to the site, and I get started. And I have to type in my library card number and PIN number. PIN. So when I go into LinkedIn Learning, there are a ton of really amazing training videos of all types. So you can learn almost any software that you can think of, you can learn with LinkedIn Learning. And you can also learn like how to be a photographer. You can learn how to use the recording software that's in our Sound and Vision studio. You can learn business tips, lots of really cool things. So if we type in the search bar Gmail, what comes up is Gmail Essential Training. So in this slideshow that I've shared with everyone, I have a link for every essential training for every Google Suite product that we're going to talk about. So I have plenty of LinkedIn Learning links that you can click on and just learn until your heart's content, really. Each of these videos is usually about an hour long. I've seen videos on here that they're courses, is what they call them, that are 17 or 20 hours long. And at the end of them, you get a certificate that you can attach to your LinkedIn profile if you want. Like if you're getting like if you learn Adobe Illustrator and you use that to get a job being an illustrator. So let me go back to my slideshow. And so I have a slide here for Gmail. I mean, Joel covered a lot, so I don't have a lot on my slide, but it's free email. There's 15 gigabytes of storage for attachments or for a lot of other stuff that I'll talk about in just a minute. It's kind of the central aspect of your Google account. And then here's that link for Gmail Essential Training. So you can click on that after we're finished today or at any time. The first part of the Google Suite that I want to talk about is Google Calendar. We already talked about that a little bit too. So it's available in your desktop browser. So you can, have your Gmail open on your computer, and you can open up. Let me share my screen one time again. Let me go back to my browser, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I go to my email, and I click on the waffle, top right. And then it has this little icon for Google Calendar. When I click on that, that shows me my calendar. I can look at this week. I can see all the stuff that's going on. And there, in the left-hand side, there are all the different calendars. So you can have a personal calendar and a work calendar and a calendar for your friends and a calendar for your family and things like that. So you can keep everything separate. And this integrates with Gmail perfectly. So if someone sends you a calendar invite, like you go into your calendar and you click create, and you say, let's hang out. And then you can invite someone from here, and then let's see here. And they will get an email about the invite, and then from their email in Gmail, they can click accept, and then it pops up on their calendar. And as Kathy and Kathleen both know, Google Calendar is way too deep to really go into a lot of depth here, but it's just really nice, and it integrates perfectly into Gmail, which is a huge advantage. So you always have emails for all of your meetings, and you get email reminders if you want. And so it's very powerful, and you can access it from right within your Gmail. Let's see, what other aspects are the kind of the high points of Google Calendar? Oh yeah, Joel also mentioned you can create a Google Hangout. So if you make a meeting in Google Calendar, it automatically creates a link for a Google Hangout. So you can do a Zoom call from right within, a Zoom style call from right within a Google Calendar event. And there's your Google Calendar Essential Training link right there if you want to explore further. Let's get to a little bit more of the fun stuff here. Okay, Google Documents is also available. So that would look like this. I click on my waffle and Documents. That's my first one. That's kind of my favorite. You click on that. It'll bring up a list of all the documents you have. If you want to make a new document, you click on the Compose button on the bottom right. Sometimes the Compose buttons are on the top left, and sometimes they're on the bottom right. It's not the most consistent. And so that'll take me to a new document. And Google Docs is really great because a lot of people, have used Microsoft Word over the years or different word processors, but Google Docs is free with your Gmail account, and it's really, for most people, you can do everything that you'd want to do, and it's just as powerful as Microsoft Word is for most people. So I can type a document and I can print it, and I can. The beauty of it is, though, I can share it with friends, and it's available. You can work on it with multiple people at the same time. You can collaborate on the document together. So I could share this with Joel with this share button over here, and when I do that, he's going to have access to the document too. So then he can type into the document, and I can type into the document, and we can work on it together. And that collaborative aspect is a really big part of it. And because it's stored in your Google Drive or in your Google account, you can access it from anywhere that you access your Google account. So if you go over to your your friend's house or a family member's house, you can get on the computer and log into your Gmail account, and you can access the document there. You don't have to have it on your computer or on a flash drive or anything like that. You can access it anywhere you go. You can also access it on your phone. So it's totally in the cloud, and as long as you have the app on your phone, you can access it anywhere. And the other great thing about that is it's always saved. There's actually not even a save button in Google Docs because it just automatically saves everything. So you really can't, it makes it very difficult to lose something, which is really, really great. A couple of really cool tips about Google Docs is you can actually, and I have links to little Linda videos for each one of these, is you can actually open and edit Microsoft Word documents as well. So if someone sends you a Microsoft Word document, a .docx or a .doc file, you can actually open that up with Google Docs and convert it into Google Doc format. And you can actually do the opposite, where you can take your Google Doc, and if I type this, I can go over to File and where is it? Export, I think. Download. Go to download to Microsoft Word, and it'll convert it to a Microsoft Word. So you can kind of go back and forth, and you can open and save Microsoft Word documents as well, which is really handy since that Microsoft Word is so popular. Let's see here. Yep, and I got the LinkedIn Learning course, Google Docs Essential Training, linked there if you want to explore that more. Kathy, I'm not keeping an eye on the chat. Is there anything real pertinent that we could answer?
No, but we are keenly aware, Kathleen and I are chatting about the time and how we completely underestimated the depth of this topic. So I just wanted to alert everybody that we will probably cut this off in a few minutes. And Jim, if it's okay by you, to continue with the other apps in Google Suite at our next meeting, possibly. And then pass this information on as a follow-up so that people can start to watch videos on LinkedIn Learning and catch up just with the information we've already covered. Because I think, we always have to start at the most basic information, and we never know where a person is in terms of their learning curve. So let's go for maybe like 5 more minutes. I will monitor the chat. We have someone with an unstable internet connection, which we can't do anything about. But no, let's go ahead and get through the Google Docs. We've done Docs calendar, right?
Yep, we're really getting pretty close here. Those are calendar and Docs. Google Docs is a huge one for me. I did a whole course on. We've done whole courses just on Google Docs here.
Okay.
Like hour-long presentations just on that, because there's a lot to know. But it's just a word processor. It's up there in your little waffle icon, and you can use it to type and share and collaborate. There's also Google Sheets, which is Google's version of kind of like their version of Microsoft Excel, which is the main spreadsheet software. So yeah, you can do kind of all the stuff that you do in Microsoft Excel in Google Sheets. And you can even convert Excel documents into Google Sheet form. I have a link. This link here is a little more in depth, but it's a little harder to do that one. But I'd put a link there if you're curious. But you can make spreadsheets, and I got the essential training there for you. And now Google Drive. This is actually, there's a couple more in my slideshow. Let me skip ahead real quick. There's Google Photos. Google Photos is really best. I often see it used on people's phones. You can download the app onto your phone, and you can actually use it to clear off space in your phone. And you can upload all of your photos to Google Photos and back them up, and then use it as a way to clear up some space on your phone. And that, again, we've actually done an entire program on that too. But it's a little bit more useful on your phone, I find. Google Keep is a place for a bunch of notes and lists. I'll show you my Google Keep real quick. Go to my email, Google Keep. Google Keep is kind of like a desktop where you just have a bunch of papers and things that you need to work on, and you can like color code them, and you can highlight them, and you can make lists, and you can save links and photos and kind of whatever you want. It's like just a place to save a ton of stuff. And all that stuff actually goes into your Google Drive. So your Google Drive is what they call the cloud storage that comes with your Google account. So it's kind of always running in the background. So if you upload an attachment to your email, that actually goes into your Google Drive. And if you make a Google document, that actually saves into your Google Drive. So it's all kind of adding up in your Google Drive, and that's kind of how sometimes you can run out of space if you upload a lot of photos to Google Photos or something like that. You could run out of space, but it's 15 gigabytes of free cloud storage, and you can access it from anywhere. So if I click on my email again, I can click on the waffle and click on this icon here, this triangle. That's Google Drive. Click on that, and this is all kinds of stuff that I have. So this slideshow that we're looking at right now, that's in my Google Drive. See that there? That's where it lives, and that's how I can share it with everyone, because it's living in my Google Drive, and I'm just allowing you all to access it. So Google Drive is kind of that central part that all of your files get saved into. I could look at it like this. You can make folders in your Google Drive, and you have different folders. So it's kind of like a whole like little computer in there where you can save all of your files. Yeah, one more thing. Last of all, YouTube. YouTube is actually part of Google as well, and a lot of people don't really think about that. But yeah, Google, they bought YouTube, so it's a part of Google. And if you're signed into your Google account or your Gmail and you go over to YouTube, you'll be signed into YouTube as well. So when you're signed into YouTube, I'll click on my YouTube here. So all these are active links. Not sure what that picture is. Let's see here. This is my YouTube account here. And I'm signed in. See this on the top right? There's my little face, and I'm already signed into YouTube. And this is all the stuff that I kind of like to watch for the recording studio here. And see on my left-hand side, I have all my subscriptions. You can subscribe to YouTube channels that you like. So if you like a YouTube channel about gardening, you can subscribe to it. And since you're signed in, it knows who you are. And then you can get notifications to your email whenever your favorite YouTube channel comes out with a cool new video that you want to watch. Once you're signed in, you can also make your own videos. You can create videos. You can like videos. You can create lists and share them with other people. So most of the time, people don't necessarily need to be signed into YouTube, but there's a lot of extra stuff you can do when you're signed in, and you're automatically signed in with your Gmail. And so that's really all I had with the Google Suite. Like, I know it is kind of flying through it, but really my intention with all this was, you have your email, and then this waffle, just kind of demystifying it. There's even more stuff than we covered. There's business features, You can make surveys. Um, so but it's all up there, and so really just you can just explore it and have fun with it and just kind of know that it's there. And if you want to dig deeper, you can look at those LinkedIn Learning courses, and as long as you have your library card and your pen, you can learn so much on there.
Great. We do have a question that I think is a good one. I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you answer it. Debbie wants to know, she says, I don't see docs. You don't really see the waffle on your Gmail app on your phone, on your mobile. Isn't it true that you have to download Google Docs, you have to download Google Calendar as a separate app?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yes, they're all just separate apps. So you download Google Docs onto your phone. I could share my phone, but for the sake of time, I might just show you. Can everyone see that? I have a folder on my phone and it has all of my Google apps in there. And I call the folder G for Google, and I can click on the Google Docs and then it goes to all my Google Docs. So you can access them on your phone and your desktop. You'll have to sign in with your Google credentials to access your Google Docs on your phone, but most all of these Google Suite applications also have mobile and tablet mobile apps. So yeah, so you can really access and do all of this stuff from any device, really.
And we do plan to have a phone session one of these months. But that's again, will be tricky because everybody's on a different kind of phone. So, but that is in the plan to address, because I think most of us are tapping only 20% of the potential of our phones, and it would be really useful to know how to do more. So,
what if we don't have any of that on our Gmail account? I have a Gmail account and none of it, rooms, schedules, nothing like that comes up. It just seems to be a basic thing. It has a different composed thing that looks like a sheet with a pencil. What is the matter? I mean, I don't go through Chrome.
Would that be a version issue?
It could be, so one thing that we didn't touch on is Chrome is Google's browser for the internet. So if you're using Chrome, that usually works better.
I'm not using Chrome, I'm using Safari.
But I still think it should look the same in Safari. So that's a little bit puzzling to me. So I'm not sure the best way to see your screen. I mean, I have a minute, so if after we get finished, Sharon might be able to share her screen even, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. Even my compose button looks different than Joel, so I think he may have customized something. You can customize your inbox a little bit. So
but Sharon, you don't have the waffle?
I'll have to look, but
Okay.
I have a Google account, but even the sign in is different. I don't need to have a symbol, for example. All I need is, the words and one letter. So something is kooky here.
is your computer, have you updated your computer in your browser?
My computer is brand new.
Oh.
So I don't want to waste other people's times, but it blew my mind that you had all this and I didn't have anything, and it doesn't even say spam. It just, okay.
We can work with you
Another time.
It looks, I have Safari and it looks very similar to what Joel was showing.
Okay.
So
I have some kind of skeleton, so we'll see.
Okay. All right. I know that was a lot, everybody. Hope you learned something. Are there any last questions that you'd like to ask Jim before we go? We will continue this. We're just going to figure out where we need to get back into it. We've already had a couple of comments about following up on some of these apps. I think Jim's advice is just to get in there and explore and try things and then take all those classes on LinkedIn Learning. So Jim, will we share your slideshow with people so that
Yep.
they can click right through?
And I can even post it in this chat again, or we can send out an email with it. It should be publicly available. So I'm keeping it that way for a resource for everyone, because the way we're doing these tech classes on Zoom right now actually works better in a lot of ways than when we do it in person here at the library, because we can share those documents and you can click on the links and you can use your own computer at the same time.
Okay, so I want to make sure that people know that they need to click on that before you sign out of this meeting right now, before you leave the Zoom, you need to click on the link that Jim provided.
I can reshare it. 1 second.
Yeah, and
I'll
I copy and pasted it into my email so we can even send them out to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, if you wanted to look at it right now, for instance, you could open it up and then you could leave the meeting and it would still be there on your computer.
Will
I'm
you
doing
put it
that.
in an email? That would be really
can do that.
nice.
We
We could
can.
put it in
Sure.
emails. Thank you.
I wanted to mention something about quickly getting into Zoom. I put my Google Calendar on my taskbar, and then I copied and pasted the link into my calendar for the Zoom. So I only have to open my Zoom calendar and click on that link and it goes right to Zoom.
Oh, Gracie, that's brilliant.
You're way ahead of us.
Well, it's just, I didn't want to get into my emails and all that
Yeah.
every
no,
time.
I think that's really smart.
I need to do that. Oh, boy. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, well, again, I know that's a lot. I learned about 25 new things, I think.
Mhm.
So thanks so much to the guys, Jim and Joel. And our next Tech Club date is in the chat. It's June 3rd at 4 p.m. And we will let you know the topic as soon as we know.
Will we be signed up for that class or do we have to re-sign up?
Kathleen?
Yeah, you'll have to re-sign up
Re-sign,
because
okay.
the topics are different each time. So
we'll get a notification because you
Yes.
said it was booked ahead.
yeah, these are super popular. We actually let most of the waiting list in this time because we had some cancellations. So we'll
So we'll be on the
allow as
lookout.
right as
We'll
many
look out
people
for
as
that.
we can accommodate. And then we also record the session so you can always get them afterwards as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, a lot to think about and a lot to do. So thank you, everybody, for coming. And we hope to see you next time.